Hello, everyone. What's today? Today's Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to, I think, the first live stream of 2024. I've been so excited to do this. I'm so excited for the topic and to actually live stream again in 2024. So, welcome. As always, let's start with a tradition that has been going on for a long time. Tell me what's in your cup and where you're from in the chat so I can see who I'm talking to. I love to chat. I'm here in New York City. That's kind of rainy. I look outside, but my shades are closed. And I am drinking green tea out of my Appfigures mug. We ran out of those mugs, so now we have to design new ones because as much as I like this one, I think we can get it more exciting. If you have this mug, nice. So we're going to talk about, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about Apple search ads. I'm going to try something a little bit different. See, last month I did a few Q&A sessions about App Store optimization, and a lot of people have also asked questions about Apple search ads independently on Twitter and also on email and really everywhere else. So I figured we'll do the same concept, but today we're going to talk about Apple search ads because you're throwing money if you're not doing it right. So tell me what's in your cup, where you're from. We're going to wait for people to shuffle in, and then we're going to get started. Yep, that's what we're going to do. That was an abrupt pause. I'm looking for, on most of my screens, I only see me. So let's see, what do we have in the chat? In the chat, we got... Oh, we got a lot of stuff happening in the chat. Okay. I'm glad. Happy New Year to you too, Raphael. It's good to be here. Ooh, iced tea from Monaco. From Morocco. Huh. That's good. I like that. Iced tea from Morocco. Water in Berlin. I like that. Bucharest, it's freezing outside. It was freezing here too, but I feel like it's not the same kind of freezing. I see some coffees. I see some tea. Oof. It's happening. It's happening. Hot coffee turning into cold coffee. That's actually my favorite. I used to, you probably remember if you've seen me live stream about a year ago, used to have a little cup of espresso and I would just leave it on my desk and it would slowly cool down and then I would eventually just chug it. I don't know if it's the best way to consume espresso, but that's what I did. And I decided to take a pause from coffee for a while and I completely forgot about it. So now I'm all about the tea. Ooh. All right, let's see on one of my many screens. I think at some point it's going to be too many screens. I have 4 screens in front of me. 4. That's a lot. So let's see how we're doing. Oh, we're looking good. We're looking real good. So people are shuffling in. We're streaming on 3 platforms today. We got YouTube, we got LinkedIn, and we have Twitter. X, Twitter, depends on how you want to look at it. And Twitter now has a real streaming interface. So if you're coming from Twitter, do say something in the chat. I would love to see what that looks like in my consolidated chat. They have a real view now, which I kind of like. I'm going to try and be on Twitter as well and answer everything. We'll see how that goes. And I also have a new tool that I'm going to use in order to do this. So the format today is I'm going to open up with an intro about Apple search ads for a little bit. Then I'm going to open it up to you to ask questions. Ask me in the chat anything you want to know. And also, if you have any problems with your specific campaigns, drop in your app, the name of the app, so I can look it up and see what I think about it. And then we'll go from there. So any question you want, you can throw in your app and I'll take a look at it specifically. And hopefully we can all learn from each other. That's kind of my thinking on this. So let's see how that goes. Ooh, a question from Raphael in the chat. What software do you use? So I use a lot of hardware to do most of the real streaming. And then I use Restream.io to do the split to multiple platforms. And we're using a slightly new feature, I think, in Restream that can do scheduling in LinkedIn, which was a little bit weird to me, but hopefully it all works and it all works so well. It's kind of the same, but not exactly. Ooh, we got a hello from Andreas from Twitter. Hello, Andreas. If you're on LinkedIn, also say hi. We're across all of these now. Alrighty, so we're starting with questions. Before we get into questions, let's start officially. Hello, I'm Ariel from Appfigures. For those of you who know me, you know I like to talk about App Store optimization, and now I'm also talking about Apple search ads because in addition to thinking about how to acquire organic downloads, Apple search ads has become one of the most easiest go-to tools for developers of really all sizes to acquire new downloads and new users. And I think when you do it right, it's amazing. When you do it wrong, you're burning money, basically. So we have new tools that are coming into Appfigures to help you with that alongside with organic. And I'm here to answer your questions. But the one thing that I want to know first, before we jump into questions, is how many of you run basic campaigns versus advanced campaigns, and how many of you use Smart Match? And that's really the beginning of pretty much every optimization that I can think of for any Apple search ads campaign. If you're running basic, I've not met many people who can turn that into profit. And if you're running if you're running Smart Match, you're probably spending money on keywords that are completely irrelevant. So drop in the chat if you're using basic versus advanced, and if you're also using Smart Match. And while you do that, I'm going to try another something new today. Another new thing. I'm going to try something new today. I want to get a lot of likes on this video because it makes me feel good. Also means that the YouTube algorithm floats it to more people. And so if we get to 50 likes today, which is doable, we're at 7. I think there's some room to go, and we have enough people on this that we can easily get to 50. If we can get to 50, I'm going to drop a 25% off promo code in the chat so you can use it. And it's going to expire tomorrow, so it's only for you, basically. So hit that like button on the bottom, just below me, and let's get this going. Okay, so, all right. So I'm seeing in the chat what I expected. Basic never worked for me from Andreas. Advanced, not using search match from Adir, that's good. Advanced, but I've burnt my money for nothing. That also happens. I see the app investor is running both basic and advanced. Basic seems to not scale, but gets a much cheaper CPA from you right now. That's actually interesting. I've heard that from many people. I've seen that in apps directly. But because it doesn't scale, it doesn't really help you all that much. Maybe it's good for discovery, but that's probably it. So that's why advanced is really the way to go. And it's not like advanced is really advanced, if you ask me. I've seen all the other ad networks, and if you've seen them, you know that advanced is kind of the basic. I guess the basic when you compare it to Facebook ads, to Instagram ads, to really all the other ads. And I'm not even talking about Google ads, which is a whole mess. So yeah. Let's see, what else we're going. Ooh. There's a lot of stuff happening in the chat. I don't even think I can follow everything that's happening in the chat, but started with basic. Free $100. Okay, that's good. What else do we have? Rab is asking me if I'm from Persia. I am not from Persia. I'm here in New York City. Young teacher never tried Apple ads. Well, welcome. Today we're going to talk about that, and hopefully you'll learn something useful so you're not going to burn your money up front. Shannon's saying, I've only found success with basic ads. Interesting. 61 downloads for $10. That's pretty good. I mean, it gets to that point where this could be nice, but that's kind of a problem because you want to go beyond 61 downloads in order to really get successful, and basic is not going to give that to you. But, oh, Paulina is saying, nice background setup. Thank you, Paulina. It's not like I know you or anything. I have multiple people from the Appfigures team on this chat, so if you want to say hello to them, you can do that too. But all right, so my intro was pretty brief. I think we should just jump into questions because there are a whole bunch. So let's see if I can find the earliest question that came in. Ooh, okay, here we go. This is a good one. Let me bring this one up on screen. And let's make sure that I can see my screen. Good. So Murad is asking, is it okay to go to the market without localizations, but for all countries? And I think the answer is a real maybe. So if we look at ASO, specifically apps for optimization, we look at keywords, we know that a lot of keywords that are successful in non-English speaking countries are in English, which is kind of weird, right? Why would that happen? And the real thing is most apps are not localized. The big apps are localized, some small apps are localized, but at the end of the day, most apps just are not. So ultimately, it's probably not a big deal, but it really depends on the country. I've noticed that some countries don't care about their localization, and some really, really do. And I don't think it's countries that are also English-speaking versus not. I've seen it really go wild. So Germany is a lot more accepting of English keywords. And I say accepting based on the traffic that we see and the popularity score that we see for English keywords in Germany. And yet, Poland, for example, is a lot lower. So in Poland, you might want to actually localize. But the thing is, it's always good to experiment. So if you want and if you have the budget, you should experiment. But And here's a warning when you experiment when it comes to actually paying money. If you experiment too much, you're going to lose money. That's just how it works. The big companies know that 10 to 25% of their budgets, their hundreds of thousands of dollars budget, will go to experimentation and likely will not yield results. And they build that into their expectations. When it comes to smaller scale, that's kind of more difficult to actually say, I'm out of my $1,000, I'm going to give $100 or $150 or $200 to basically nothing. And so I would say take all of your hard-earned cash and spend it on one, maybe two countries to begin with, and slowly scale. You don't have to localize when you scale, but you have to be able to start, stop, pause, modify, adjust at a country level in order to really do it right. That's how I would do it, at least. And that's how I would not spend money and take the learnings from one country and test them in other countries, as opposed to kind of test it blindly. Now, again, if you have the budget and you just want to do it quickly, sure, go to town on it. But if you don't, and you probably shouldn't, because why waste money, do it one or two countries at a time. You can do it really fast over a few days, try multiple countries, but that's kind of where I would stop with that. Now let's see, what do we have? Another question. I'm going to set up my screens differently. Okay, here we go. Now my screens are very well set up. So we talked about this. Let's see what else we have. First launch. Oh, another question from first launch. Creatives are attractive than competitors, more attractive than competitors. 6 to 8 CMPTs. Took the main keywords, no localizations for first launch. Don't consider budget for ASA. Will keyword CR optimization only be enough? I think so. I mean, again, you're testing and you're experimenting. So the more you do, the better. It doesn't mean that you have to do a lot. It just means that you have to do, if you get where that is going. Next. Running both basic ads. Okay. So I'm not going to try and pronounce this because I'm going to mess it up and it's too much. How can we analyze from which keywords we're getting purchases? Install is important, but I also want to analyze which keywords I'm getting purchases from. So for that, you need some sort of attribution. There are third parties that will do attribution for you. We don't do that yet. We're thinking about it, but we don't do that yet. RevenueCat is one of those companies that will do attribution. I don't know off the top of my head others, but they exist. So all you need to do is find a third party that will do it for you. And then you can see where the actual money is coming from, which is pretty important. Let's see, what else? Okay, so Airbeam is asking, what TTR do you consider a good minimum? And the answer to that is really, really, really difficult. It depends on the category you're in. It depends on the type of app. It depends on your budget. The way I've seen it is the more impressions you have, the smaller your TTR is going to be, which is kind of common sense. But it also depends where you're advertising. And this is really important, that you want to have the keywords that are most relevant for your app. You want them to be the core of your campaign. And you want to extend that campaign to keywords that may not be as relevant or a little bit more off just to see if people are into it. But you want to minimize those. And as long as you do that properly, your TTR is going to remain high, or the number of people who see your ad and tap on your ad, that's what we're talking about, that's going to stay high. Again, there's no established minimum. Obviously, anything more than 0 is going to be useful. I usually aim for at least teens to 20s. I've seen way higher than that. I have not seen much higher than that at scale, at really, really big scale. Because again, not all people that are searching for what it is you're advertising actually came into the App Store needing your app. And if you have a really good system, meaning if you have a really good way to know what's going on and a really good way to know what your potential users are actually looking for, then that TTR is going to rise. But in the 20s is probably where I would start. Below that, I would try and optimize, go after competitors, see what everyone else is doing and try to learn from that. The other challenge with that is also, how do you look at popularities, and do you go after only popular keywords, not popular keywords? And that has to do with the TTR as well. But that's a much different kind of question. Hopefully someone will ask about it. Let's see. Continuing. Young teacher is asking what ASO tool you would suggest for starters. Appfigures is not that expensive if you think about it. The whole idea behind our different plans is that they fit you wherever you are in the process. I'm obviously very biased, but I can tell you there's a no better tool, because I know off the top of my head most of those third-party tools that exist now that are cheaper have issues and were probably borrowed, and I say borrowed with air quotes, from us. So if you want to go with the company that's leading the charge, with the person who's leading the charge, come with us. And if we get to 50 likes, we're 14 likes away from 50. If we get to that, you're going to get 25% off on ASO tools. So let's make sure everyone hits that like button. If you have a like button in front of you, hit it. We'll make sure that young teacher gets 25% off. Okay, continuing. Whoa, a lot of comments. Okay. Continuing. Oh, there's a lot of chatter here. I like this. Okay. So Murad is bringing all the good questions. Thank you for all the good questions. Which part of app and which part of metadata mostly should be A/B tested? So you can't really A/B test stuff related to App Store optimization, meaning the organic stuff, but you can test everything else. So you should test your icon and you should test your screenshots. And the reason why all of this is important is because when you run your apps, when someone looks at your either Apple search ad campaign, so the actual mention in the search results, or if they tapped it and now they're looking at your app's page, the main thing they're going to look at is actually the screenshots. They're big, they're colorful in most cases, and they scream what the app does, where everything else takes a lot of brain cycles. So instead of having people waste brain cycles, they're just going to look at the screenshots, optimize those. And I've seen immediate benefit from optimizing and just shuffling the screenshots. Most screenshots are not meant to be done in a certain order. And so if you shuffle them around, that can actually give you some meaningful results. That's super easy, and that's something you can do right now, especially in App Store Connect. So I would highly recommend doing it if you haven't. But the whole idea is you want to float what's most important to the user up to the top, and to the top I mean to the beginning. And it's sometimes a little bit more challenging, especially if you're the main developer on this and the value you get out of it isn't necessarily exactly identically precisely what the end user gets. So you end up with showing what you think is right, not what the user wants. So that's why you should experiment and play around with what you show in the App Store page. And then if you want to get crafty, you can try different things. You can try different colors. I have a whole guide on what to do and how to A/B test screenshots, which I put together kind of a while ago, but it's still relevant. It's got fonts, it's got colors, it's got formats. And so you can try all those things, and those apply directly to Apple search ads. And actually with Apple search ads, it's a lot more important because you're paying for that impression. And so with organic App Store optimization, you're not really paying for the impression. And so if you get 10 or 1,000, it doesn't really matter. But if you are paying for 10 or 1,000, that's obviously something that's coming out of your pocket. So you want each and every one of those to convert and to have a much better download to impression ratio, because it's costing you money. So that's that. Okay, continuing. The app investor is asking, what's a good CP install, in your opinion, for a parenting support app with search ads? I seem to be at a 10x what Google Ads is doing for the same Android app. Wow. I mean, not unexpected, considering parenting support app is kind of a niche. And so I see why that would be a little bit more, one, competitive, and two, I can't really think of that many keywords that you would use. And so you're really optimizing for a small amount and you're fighting over a small amount. So I don't exactly know what the cost should be, but because I don't know this particular niche very well, but what I would do is I would try to not worry about the cost as much and worry about the size of your campaign. So instead of focusing your campaign, I would actually go super long tail as possible. So what I would do is look at all the different apps that are used for parenting, not specifically parenting support, but parenting in general. And I can think of a whole bunch, and then throw those into the competitor keywords tool. Let me show you that. And then take all the keywords that they're using. Now, I like to start with Apple search ads because that means that's what they're spending money on. But you can do the same thing for organic. The whole idea is you want to get as many ideas as possible and as many opportunities as possible, with the hope that some of those opportunities no one else is asking or looking at. And so if they haven't done the same analysis, what they're going to see is very, very, very different. They're still going to be focused, because I believe that's the initial inclination of pretty much every niche. And so if you're long-tailing the entire campaign, you'll be able to get, hopefully, gems that they're not spending on. And that's going to lower your cost substantially across the board. Let me show you real quick, and let's see if you can drop the name of your app in the comments. I can load it up. But if not, let's see if I can switch to my computer and show you what that looks like. So some of you might be familiar with our Apple search, with our competitor keywords tool that we use for App Store optimization that I show on these live streams all the time, competitor keywords. It's right here. But this is kind of the same for Apple search ads. And so this uses all of our data that we get from Apple every day about millions of keywords and millions of apps, and it puts them side by side. So let's select an app. Parenting. Let's see if I can find something. Positive parenting. I don't know what that is. They're now doing Apple search ads. This is going to be less fun. Well, so let's start backwards. Let's start with the competitor keywords. So I'm going to look at their organic keywords. And let's see if we have a name in our chat. Name is Nanny AI. Just rebranded it today. Okay, cool. So let's look at Nanny like this AI and see what we got. So Nanny AI. So this is all the organic keywords that we're finding. And you know what? Let me start definitely even more backwards. Let's go with my favorite tool, Keyword Inspector. And Keyword Inspector will run a search for us. So let's look for parenting support because that's where we started. Not a very popular keyword. Okay, we're going to update that in real time. Still not a very popular keyword even after the real time update. But we got a bunch. Okay, so we have a lot of stuff going on. None of this looks too interesting. Let's see if we can figure out if this app does Apple search ads. Our Family Wizard. So I'm going to take its name and we're going to throw it into that first report that I was looking at. And yeah, it are doing Apple search ads, and we see 177 keywords, which is at least 100 more than I actually expected we would see for something like this. So we got family calendar, co-parenting app, Screen Zen, probably a competitor, battery health, someone is using Smart Match, obviously not a great idea. And this is why Smart Match is so bad, because Smart Match is smart enough, and I'm using air quotes that you can't see, but it's not really smart enough ultimately. And I would be fully okay with that for pretty much everything, except for stuff that costs me money and stuff that could potentially cost me a lot of money. And so I wouldn't really want that. That's why I turn it off all the time. I never use Smart Match, and I never use Broad Match also because it will do something similar, but at a keyword level. It's just a no-no, in my opinion. And Apple will tell you that you have to use it in order to do a discovery campaign. I think, again, if you have money to waste on this, please do. Otherwise, use anything else, really, in order to save your money and use that money to get downloads. So we're seeing all these keywords that this app is doing. And let's see if we can use, let's see if we have any information on Nanny AI. So, okay, we got a few keywords. Now we're up to 209. And here you can easily see which ones both are using. So 32 for Nanny, 177. So I think our family wizard is doing exactly what I said. They're going for the long tail. And it's possible they're going for the long tail using Smart Match or using Broad Match, or it's possible that they are trying to find all the keywords that make sense to them. I think also it's pretty interesting to see the share. So let's look at the share. Parent bank, divorced, room wizard. I don't really know what that is. Communication games for couples. So someone is definitely using Smart Match. That would be my guess. And if our family wizard is in the audience, please let me know if you're using Smart Match. I'm incredibly curious. But look at what's going on here. The highest impressions that this app is getting, meaning the most times that this app is seen amongst its competitors, are for low popularity keywords. And again, that's exactly what I was saying before. So when you go for low popularity keywords, you end up with potentially more discovery at a much lower cost. And that makes a lot of sense. This is really strange to me. I really don't understand why battery health is so up high, and I think that's a colossal waste of money. Unless there's something else that's going on. Again, I don't know this app and I don't know the niche very well. Maybe there is an amazing need for battery health monitoring at a family level. I don't know. I'll not worry about this for now. So that's how I would start and try to optimize costs by going after those low popularity, potentially many of those that are as relevant as possible, and go from there. And let's continue. Let's see what we have in our chat. There's a lot of stuff in the chat again. I'm going to try and not skip over anyone. Let's see if I can do it. Standy Travel is asking what tool I'm using in slightly different words. So this tool that you just saw is in beta at the moment. The beta, we added way more people than we even expected to this beta, and hopefully we're going to be done with it and be able to launch it to everyone at some point very soon. And it's going to be available in the Grow plan, which is discounted if we get to 50 likes. And we're 2 shy from 50 likes. So young teacher will definitely get that 25% off. And you can also get it and upgrade to get this new tool that's coming out very soon. Continuing. Ooh, okay. So this is a really good question. How do search ads affect organic downloads? If we're advertising on a keyword that we're also competing for organic downloads, would stopping advertising on that keyword help our organic placement? And the answer is there is no direct relationship, meaning in most cases, you're not going to see an improvement or not an improvement on those keywords because the search ads campaign doesn't really touch organic at all, and for obvious reasons. I mean, that would be a very easy way to game the system. Apple doesn't want that. I don't think you want that. But what does happen is, if you remember, organic discovery is based on keyword placement, but also ratings. And if you're acquiring downloads in a way that's more aggressive, and you optimize your ratings conversion, you're probably going to get more ratings. More ratings will help you increase. So in theory, I would never want to have a paid ad and also my organic result be number 1 or 2 in a keyword, unless it's something that's incredibly, amazingly relevant and super competitive, and I have to do it. So make sure that you know the keyword ranks of all of your apps, or make sure you know all the keywords and the ranks for your app, so you can lower the amount when it comes to, or you can gate them out when it comes to specific keywords that you're already doing well. But there's also a little bit of a weird effect, and this is probably not a small scale thing. This is a massive scale thing. But I've seen campaigns that caused a lot of impressions for an app and a lot of clicks to its product page that didn't turn into downloads, and that's because they advertised using keywords that are not exactly relevant. They're relevant enough, but they're not that relevant, and you'll fall into that when you have an app that's really hot, or an app in a category that's really hot, like AI. And AI and graphics was a huge, super hot category back in December of last year, and I saw an app that was spending a ton of money on Apple search ads for that particular category. And I don't know if they used Broad Match or Smart Match or just decided to go crazy and had several thousand keywords. And what that did was it meant that the App Store is seeing them on the organic side because, okay, backtrack a little bit. So they had all these keywords and all this traffic, but even in the AI graphics space, each app does something just a little bit differently. And if you're looking for a specific filter, or you're looking for a specific way to make a meme and post it on TikTok, you're going to go after one specific app, and theirs wasn't that particular app. So they got a lot of impressions, but because the users couldn't find what they were looking for, they didn't download it. So in terms of Apple search ads, money spent, money wasted, depends on how you want to look at it. But in terms of organic discovery, that tells the algorithm that these keywords, the app is not relevant in. And even though it's not as strong of a signal as keyword placement or ratings, it will eventually drop you. Not a ton, so you're not going to lose. You're not going to completely be out of the race, but instead of being number 3 in a category or in a keyword, you will end up being number 4 or 5 or 6. So it does have some impact. It's really minute for most companies and most apps, but something to watch out for. All right, continuing. Another question from Traore. I think that's how you say it. If that's not how you say it, I apologize. Search ads versus Meta or TikTok or Google. Throw Reddit into this, throw Twitter into this. What are the advantages, and what are the advantages of search ads? I'm paraphrasing a little bit. So they're each a little bit different, but I can categorize it into one main big difference. And that one main big difference is those ads, the Meta, the TikTok, the Google, those ads find you when you're not looking for them. On the App Store, you're looking for something and the ads finds you. So that's the real main difference, and that's intent. And intent is super, super, super important. Now, there are many other differences with how the visuals are done and how discovery is done and how the bidding system is done. But ultimately, to me, that's the main difference. So one doesn't really take away from the other, but it kind of competes on what is your intention with this campaign. And that's really the difference between advertising games and advertising apps. A lot of people are looking for apps. You're looking for a calculator or a calendar or a parent supporting app. You're not really looking for a specific game. That's usually how it is because games are a lot more broad. But when you see a game, you might say, this is cool. I want to give it a try. You're less likely to say, oh, this is a cool parenting app. I'll give it a try. You're still very likely to say it if it comes at the right time, at the right Facebook group, or alongside the appropriate content on Google. So that's why they work both ways. But that's really the main difference. People are coming into the App Store saying, I need X, whatever X is. As long as your app can provide that, putting it up front means you're going to get first dibs on this user, and that's exactly what you want. Let's see, continuing. I jumped very far into the future of comments. Okay, a question from Juan. I have some advanced campaigns with around 150 exact keywords. How many keywords do you recommend to have, less or more than that? Again, it's one of those questions that is extremely difficult to answer with a single number because there's no single answer. The way I see it is the more, the merrier. Now, I did a live stream with Thomas Pettit a while ago, back in, I believe, November or December, where he talked about different strategies for how to expand your keywords without spending money. And his idea was look for as many keywords as possible, just lower the bid on them to a point where it actually makes sense. And as long as that's the case, you'll be fine. I'm going to go with that advice because I think it's perfect. And I'll link to that live stream in the description later after this is done so you can go watch it. There are a ton of really good gems in there for optimizing your keywords and not spending more money. But that's what I would do. I would aim for really as many keywords as possible, as long as they're relevant. If you can keep them using exact match, using a tool like what I showed you, or coming up with your own list, or taking that from the organic side of things using the other tool I showed you, you can build a list that is really fitting for your industry, your niche. So what I would do is I would go through all the possible competitors, throw them into both of those tools, take the list, filter it for what I think is relevant for my app, and then upload all of those keywords. Even if you have 2,000 keywords, that's still good. Now, if you want to get crafty and you want to do different campaigns for different types of keywords, also good. So you have the keywords, the core keywords that you know you really want to succeed. And then you have the keywords that are kind of like ideas. And then you have keywords that are totally just coming from competitors. Just make sure you do your budgets correctly. But other than that, the more the merrier. I don't see any reason not to, as long as you have your bids correct. Okay, Lahari saying the name of their app is Smart BP, blood pressure app. Oh, interesting. So let's see what Smart BP has in our system. So Smart BP. So let's clear everything that's going on here. Remove all, and we'll try again. Smart BP, not clear. I'm doing all this in real time, if you have not noticed. So if I say weird things, that's probably why. So we have 23 keywords for Smart BP. And let's see, Withings, interesting, company name. A bunch of Withings stuff. I don't know how that is relevant, but maybe. Continuing, what else do we have in here? Guidelines, hair loss. Are you using Smart Match or Broad Match on this? Because I don't really know if hair loss is related to blood pressure. Unless it is, and I'm just unaware, which is always possible. But here we're starting to see interesting stuff. Let's filter this a little bit. Look for blood. Okay, so only 6 keywords that have something relevant in them are showing up. And the percentages are not bad at all. So that's good. At least you're showing up as much as possible. And you're doing pretty well on the organic side of things here. even though these keywords are not really popular. So there is some positivity in there. But I think your main issue is that only 6 keywords out of the 23 that we see have anything to do with blood pressure. Let's see if pressure is different. Okay, we got another one. Let's see BP, because that's also a thing. No, so I think really what it is there's a lot of stuff here that doesn't make any sense to me. Dehydration, I guess that has something to do with blood, but I don't know if anyone is looking for dehydration and is looking for a blood pressure app. And you can see that there isn't much competition on this because, oh, interesting. Because they're ultimately, no one is really looking for them. So what I would do is first clean this up. I don't even know what this is. My blood pressure app. Check her pulse. Like, all this is interesting, but it just tells me that this campaign is not at all focused or optimized. So I think you're really wasting money. And I'm guessing that most of the money is getting wasted on this. And that's where all your money is going. So it's not giving you as much return as you would like. Even something like Vitals, while interesting, obviously does not have that many Apple Search Ads competitors. And that's probably why, because the return on it is really little. Asthma, I don't know how that's as related. I mean, these are all health things, but you're not really doing a health app, you're doing a blood pressure app. And so what I would do is, one, go in and clean all these up, figure out why they're there. If you put them in manually, delete them. If you didn't, turn off Smart Match, turn off Broad Match on whatever keywords made this happen. I don't know if hair loss is related again to blood pressure. And make sure that all the keywords that you're putting in have something to do with blood pressure. And if we look at, we'll go back here and we'll look for blood pressure. We're back in Keyword Inspector, my favorite tool. And let's look for blood pressure app Health Buddy and see if Health Buddy actually has any search ads. Blood pressure health body. So they're doing 54 keywords, or maybe not. We'll see. I'm going to remove this. They're also doing a small campaign, and this campaign is also not great. What is reminder? That's not really a great keyword to waste your hard-earned cash on. Playbook, I don't even know what that is. That might be something very specific to blood pressure, but I see a lot of stuff here that is problematic, and I would imagine that they're also not doing something right. So go after most of your other competitors, and both in the organic and on the non-organic. Now, if you want a shortcut or a cheat, go after organic and only look for keywords that are where those competitors are ranked really high, because Apple organically is not going to rank a blood pressure app for the word reminder. It's just never going to happen. And so that gives you a good enough filter, and you can do that with filters here. So if we go into here and we'll look for blood pressure health, and we'll look for this app. Let's see what it's got. And we'll look for rank that is high. So we have 500 keywords. Out of those, 47 are ranked high. And here it makes a lot more sense. So you have blood pressure and Withings, which we had before. Blood pressure, blood sugar, sugar monitor, measure pressure log. So you have all these things that actually make sense. Take all of these, just copy and paste them directly. Literally, I'm saying take all these, export them, just copy them with commas and put them into your Apple search ads. I would try to clean them up before. There's more we can do, but this on its own is going to really boost what you're getting, because now you're advertising on keywords that make sense, and keywords that make sense for the app. And I think that's a huge difference, obviously. Let's see what else we have and where we're going from here. And we have about 20 minutes to go. So we got time. Jack is saying, we're a sustainable recipe app connected to online grocery stores in Sweden. Can you search for your beat and say 3 instant things we can change for improved CPA? Just increased the budget for Apple search ads. Let's give it a try. Your beat. Let's see what that looks like. So we're going to go here, and we're going to go back to this tab. No, we're going to go back to this tab. No, we're going to go back to this tab, and we're going to look for your beat. I don't know which one it is. See if we can find it. We'll put some quotes around it, see if that helps. There we go. When in doubt, use quotes. So, okay, I got 19 keywords. I see some competitor names. I don't personally like any time when a company uses a competitor name because, and this is the same for Apple Search Ads as it is for organic discovery. And if you've been reading the keyword teardowns that I write and the app teardowns that I write, you know that I really dislike using competitor names. I think it's really wasteful. And the reason is if I'm coming into the App Store and I'm manually typing in emails, it's because I'm looking for emails. If I download your app by accident or by mistake, I'm going to feel cheated. So it's not like I'm going to come out of it saying, yes, I'll pay a subscription. I'll probably delete it, say I'm dumb, and go continue my search. So that's why I think for the most part, this is not an easy thing, not a useful thing, especially when you're spending money on it. So that would be my first recommendation. The second one is you need more keywords. This is a super competitive niche. And I think in order to get the most out of it, unless you want to go up against the New York Times and their recipe books and everyone else, even though if yours is a little bit different because it uses sustainable, let's say, ingredients or something like that, or if it's vegetarian or really specific, it doesn't really matter because most people look for the more generic term. So the Wall Street Journal is going to come up, recipes is going to come up, a whole bunch of these other well-known apps, and that's what you probably don't want to do. So make sure that you have as many keywords as possible, more than the 19 that we see. Now, it's possible you have way more keywords in your campaigns that our platform doesn't see, and that's because we need at least a minimum of impressions. So if users don't see it enough during the day, we're not going to see it. And that's usually also a good filter for if it's not on this list, it's probably not being seen often enough to drive downloads. The other thing that I see on this is everything looks pretty. I like what I see here. I think you can use more downloads, but I think, again, no competitors, if this is a competitor, and more keywords, and you will be doing really well. And I can think of a whole bunch of others. Now, the same trick that I used before, you can use again, go into Inspector, look for recipe or sustainable recipes. Let's look for recipes. Popularity of 48, so it's pretty important. And then let's just throw the top 5 apps into the keyword comparison tool. And here you're getting really a pre-filtered list coming directly out of Apple with a bunch of really good suggestions. Use this list, filter it a little bit, look at very high rank. And still, even with a high rank, we're looking at 600 keywords. So that's a lot of opportunities. Throw away some of the keywords that don't make sense or that don't exactly align with what you're doing. Export that, and you're good to go. That's how I would do it. And we're back. Okay, so let's see what else is on the list. Ooh, okay. So, hi Ariel. Hello. I would like your guidance on Litour. It's a color picker app for iOS. A color picker app. Interesting concept. Interesting. Let's give that a try quickly and see what we get. And then I'll see if there are other questions that don't require the computer, because I think I talk a lot when I stare at the computer. Mostly because analysis is fun. But let's see. Litour. Color picker. There we go. So Litour color picker, we have only 4 keywords, which means that this campaign is probably not wide enough that we can see it. So tools, I'm not entirely sure why that is happening here. App skins, also not entirely sure why that's happening. Sort colors. So these keywords don't make any sense to me in the context of you're paying for people to find your app. I would say step 1 is probably do some research. Again, all the 3 steps that I showed before will work for this too, except a color picker app is probably, it's both good and bad, because I can think of a color picker app for many different things. Am I picking a color for my wall? Am I picking a color for a design that I'm working on? Am I picking a color for an event, like a theme? And so you have a lot of opportunities. I don't know what the app does, so I don't know if any of those actually make sense, but that's what I would go after, these type of things, and then try to expand your keyword list and probably increase your budget. I don't exactly know who you're competing against, so I don't know what kind of budget you would need, but we're also working on a tool that will show you that, so that's coming very soon. Not the budget, more who's your direct competitors on Apple Search Ads. And then you can see what their impression shares are and see if you want to spend more in order to get to them. So that's where I would go with Litour specifically. Okay, continuing. So, next one is I'm going to launch a campaign for the premium iPad app at the release, actually a pricey one. Do you have any previous experience with such kind of apps, premium apps, and search ads? Yes, I mean, that's kind of the best thing you want. You want to have an app that your return on it is actually high, because the more money you make per user, your average revenue per user, your ARPU, the higher that is, the more you can spend on search ads. And so I would say it really depends on your budget, but go as big as you can, because that will give you a lot of momentum. It's an iPad app, so that's going to be a lot more challenging. Or if it's iPad only, then that's a different thing. But if it's iPad and iOS, you want to get at least some of that traffic and then go from there, go take the iOS traffic and try to convert it. I don't think there are a lot of people on this that will tell you that iPad apps do well with Apple search ads. But if there are, please drop that in the chat. Most of my experience is with iOS apps that also have either a Mac app or an iPad app, but iOS is kind of the core. And I bet you that's going to be the same thing now that Vision is coming out. Most of the apps that are available for Vision, or that are made for Vision, if you've been following me on Twitter, you know, are actually iOS apps. So they're going to do kind of the same thing. And I think that's going to make sense. The iPhone is still the place people go to first, not the Vision, not the iPad, not the Mac. Now, continuing. Standy Travel is asking, is it possible to be added to the beta of this new feature? And the answer is absolutely. I don't see any reason not to. We've added so many people. We're like a 3x capacity of what we wanted to do. There's no reason to not go 4x. Send me an email, or send me an email at the end, or reply to the email that you got that told you about this live stream, and I will add you to the beta and make sure that you have access before we launch. Ooh, okay, so Lifebelt is asking, what sort of CPI is decent for a mobile game? And again, this is all specifically relevant to the niche. I think what we'll do once we really get into Apple search ads and we have all of our tools out, we have at least 2 or 3 more tools coming after this one, is we'll probably do kind of a state of Apple search ads, and we'll do a bunch of benchmarks, and then I can answer all these questions, because otherwise I don't exactly know. Mobile games is such a wide category. If you have a board game, that's one thing. If you have an action game, that's another thing. If you have a casual or hyper casual, or one of the many other types of casual that now exist, it really, really, really depends. But ultimately, you want to minimize that and get the most downloads. So that's what you're optimizing against, and that's why you need to find the right keywords, as many of them as possible. Jackie is asking, if you see big competitors bidding on your company name as keyword, is it worth to bid on your own name? I don't know. This is a very controversial thing among anyone who does user acquisition. I say absolutely not, for the same reason that I stated before. If someone is coming into the App Store looking for your app by name, they're looking for your app by name. So the odds of them using or finding another app and going, I was looking for this app, but I'm going to take this app instead because it's number 1 on the list, in my experience and opinion, are not very high. This is probably likely specific to specific categories and specific to specific niches. So one of the places where I would imagine this actually works is probably dating apps, because you're not really looking for a specific dating app, you're looking for a date. And probably the same for food delivery apps. You're not specifically looking for a food delivery app, you're looking for food. Now, that doesn't really happen at scale across the store. And I think even these two categories, there is an argument to be made that you are looking for a specific app versus the intent. So I would say, from my perspective, not worth it. But I'm very experimental, so I would, just like everything else, I would try it. So try it for, depending on how much budget you have, allocate some of it to this sort of an experiment, and then try to see if that gets you enough conversion. Now, keep in mind, the conversion rate on that keyword is going to be incredibly high because people are looking for you and they're downloading your app. So you're just helping them see it first. If you're not first in the organic results, that could be helpful, but for the most part, everyone is going to click on it. So it's just going to cost you a lot of money. I don't think it's worth it. You can try experimenting, but that's what I would do. Okay, Lahori's asking, how do you deal with competitors who use keywords that aren't exactly related to them, and therefore we end up having to bid higher or lose our position? There is no good way to do that, unfortunately. That's kind of the name of the game with any bidding system. Someone can come in and outbid you just in order to mess you up. Now, I think a lot of it is more confusion than anything else, and specifically when using stuff like broad match and smart match, Apple has really given itself a huge up by making sure everyone is fighting on keywords. And the more they fight, the higher the bids, the higher the bids, the higher the total revenue. So Apple's happy. Apple's not going to optimize this. But from your perspective, you're paying more for really no good reason. Way back in the day, I used to do eBay stuff. This is way back in the day, and like 2 lifetimes ago. And people would do that. It was called shill bidding, and eBay was extremely against it. But when I started doing that, because I'm very old and my cane is in the shop, they didn't really notice that and didn't have any algorithms to do it. So people would do that all the time, and it was really annoying, and I hated that. But that happens. So what I would do instead is I would look for other keywords, and the other keywords are going to allow you to not put so much reliance on those keywords that competitors are taking either by accident because of smart match or because of broad match or because they really want to make it harder for you to compete with them. So the more long tail keywords you find, and that's why we have these tools, the easier it's going to be for you to offset that. So even if you lose out on a keyword in a position, you're going to make it up in maybe 4 or 5 other longer tail keywords. And that's what you want to aim for. Do we have malice like in ASO if we put a competitor name in our ASA campaign? So there is no opposite of benefit. There are no issues if you put a competitor's name, and you saw that before. We saw WeThinks and eMeals and some of those campaigns. So it's not going to hurt you. But it is going to, in my opinion, waste your money. So I would not do that. I think I talked about that enough. But if you want to hear me ramble about why competitors are a waste of money, please let me know. I will do that. Jessica is asking, how can we be more proactive and detect competition in ASA straight away? We don't see real-time impressions falling or average CPT increasing. So that's what I would use our tool for. Put in the name of your competitor and look at their apps, look at their keywords, and make sure that your app name is not in there. And we're going to come up with a very specific way to do that with an alert very soon. But for now, you can easily do that through the interface. It takes a few more clicks, but it works. Fabian is asking, what is a good CPA in Apple search ads in music category? And we'll answer the same answer that I had before. I'm not entirely sure. Music, again, is a very wide category. There are many apps that fall into music. If you think about CPAs, think about how do you minimize it and get the same amount of return. That's really what I always look at. So it's less about what others are doing, more about what I'm doing. You can try and see what others are doing and then adjust based on that as a kind of a starting point. And that's a good way to do that. But realistically, you want to always look at specifically your competitors and where you are versus them. How much is your impression share? How much is their impression share? And go from there. That's really the best way to do it. Troy is asking, there are 4 types of search ads today: search tab, search result, and product. I think the most used one is search result, and it is. How about others? Do they perform well? Any experience on those? Interestingly enough, I just had a conversation about this yesterday with someone, and I can tell you that I will tell you what I told them. The Today page, in my opinion, is a huge, colossal waste of money for most people. Not all people, for most people or for most apps. And the reason is everyone comes into the App Store. Not everyone needs your app. And if you think everyone needs your app, we got to work on that. But realistically, not everyone needs your app. And so if everyone sees your app, everyone has the potential of clicking your app, and then you lose money because they don't really need it. So from my perspective, I would stay away from the Today tab unless you have a lot of budget and you're looking to build momentum for something that's really, really generic, like a game or something that people can pick up and use in their day-to-day lives. And you're willing to spend the amount of money that is needed. That's the only reason why I would look at the Today tab. Search tab, obviously. Search tab is what you see before a user. So as a user, it's what I see before typing something into the search box. And Apple claims that they have some magical way to determine what users are going to want before they put it into the search bar. And they might, because they know everything you do in your app. I know they don't collect some of that information. I know they don't use some of that information. And that's why, for me, most of those are actually useless. I've never tapped any ad that I saw in the search before typing in a search. It was never relevant for me. And you can tell that it's always the app that wants to be in front of more people. ChatGPT did that when they launched initially, and you saw that all the time. Other AI apps before that did the same thing. So it's the same, very similar to the Today page, but with one step removed. They want to put the brand in front of more people, so the brand gets to become kind of a name that sticks in their heads. From a monetary perspective, I think that's going to give you second least amount of return because it has no real relevance. And then search results are search results. And the product page, those are interesting. I think there is a lot of opportunity there. There was a lot of weirdness in the beginning. Some people didn't like that was happening. Some people did like that was happening. Apple made some changes. There were some rules that were added. If you remember the whole casino thing. But I think those are a really good opportunity. I haven't gotten too much chances to play with them because most of the stuff I do focuses on search results and keywords. But I think it's definitely worth experimenting with because if you understand the competition very well and you can figure out how to navigate that, being on that page for the people who are looking for alternatives is probably going to help you. It's probably going to be a sliver of the return you would get by optimizing your search results. So if you do a campaign and you've exhausted all of the optimization ideas for your search results, then maybe expand to that. But otherwise, that's what I think about all of those. Okay. Rob is saying, how long does it take for a campaign to start in real life? 1 day or how long? Usually it's pretty fast. I would say 1 day is probably a catch-all answer for everyone. And I know a lot of people will start their campaign and not see any results for a while. And the reason for that is usually either because there aren't enough keywords. And even if you turn Smart Match on, if there aren't enough keywords, the algorithm is not exactly going to know what to do. It might know what to do depending on your app, but if your app is a little bit more niche and the keywords you have a little bit more too specific and they don't have too many other keywords that can work, then that's going to be very difficult for it. So it's not going to know where to place you, and then it's just not going to place you. The other challenge is if your budget is too low and the keywords are not relevant enough, or the bids are too low and the total budget is too low, they're not going to see you. So I would say after a day, if nothing works, see if you can increase the budget, change the bids, or add more keywords. That's what I would do. Claudia is asking, what tutorial would you advise to make our first steps in Apple Search Ads? I actually did a live stream where I walked through all the different steps of setting up a campaign, and I go through literally one box at a time, text box at a time, or selection at a time, and share all my thoughts and what to do it right, like turning off Search Match. So I can link to that in the description later on again, so you can check that out when this is done. Joey's asking, can Appfigures see keywords for apps that don't use Appfigures? Absolutely. That's kind of the whole idea. The keywords component of Appfigures has nothing to do with the users of Appfigures. This is on the intelligence side, and the intelligence side is completely separate. So all we have to do, all we do is we talk directly to other sources, our own algorithms, really everything we can use, but it has nothing to do with the users that use us. So we see all those keywords. We see all the keywords that we have in our database. We have several million keywords in our database, and we keep adding new keywords as new apps comes out. New apps come out. Yes, I said that right. Fabian's asking, my app is best ringtones 2024 for iPhone. It would be great to get guidance. Well, let's see. Okay, best ringtones. Do we have time? Oh no. Well, we have 2 minutes. Let's see if we can do this in 2 minutes. So best ringtones 2024. Let's bring my computer up, turn this off, and look for my mouse. So best ringtones 2024. There we go. Let's see what we got. Okay, so it's loading. And we didn't find anything. So that means either the campaign the budget is too small and there aren't enough impressions, so our scanner doesn't see it, or none of the keywords are actually doing anything. And that's another thing, what I said before, maybe the bid is too low, maybe the total campaign budget is too low, or maybe there isn't enough relevance and the algorithm doesn't know where to place you. From when I see this, if there is a running campaign, I know that I need to optimize it. So it's not always about increasing the bid or the amount of total campaign spend, but it's mostly about making sure that you have the right keywords that apply to your app and you have enough of them, more than a handful, and you turn off Search Match. Always turn off Search Match. That's normally what I do or what I recommend. So that's pretty much it. I think we're out of time officially. Let's see what we have in the comments, if there's anything else that I can answer right now. Well, there's a lot of stuff. I'm going to try, as I have done before, to go through and answer these questions in the comments later, because the chat is going to go away. So I'm going to use all these and I'm going to answer them in the comments. If you put a question there, make sure to keep an eye on this, and you will get an answer soon. I'm going to do my best to do it over the next few days. There are a lot of questions here. But if you have any other questions, I'm on Twitter a lot. My full name is on Twitter. So make sure that you ask me on Twitter, either on a DM or directly. And I just have to say, we did it. We got more than 50 likes. 58. All right. So we're going to drop a 25% off promo code in the description for all the ASO tools that you can use and get the most out of it. If you want access to the beta tool, also let me know either on Twitter or by email, and I'll get you into it as well before we launch it into production, which is coming very, very, very soon. I hope you enjoy this, and I hope you learned something new. I had a blast. I always do with these things. And I will see you hopefully within the next few weeks for another one of these, where I'll be talking about Apple Search Ads and App Store optimization, so you can get more out of both combined, because there's a lot to dive into. That's all I got for you today. Happy Wednesday, everyone. I will see you later.